sake of the team.
God's sakes, Murali.
Firstly, can we just figure out what we're going to be doing? Are you recording?
Yeah, it's recording.
Oh.
So hi everyone, my name's Atif, this is Murali, this is Anu. We're part of Effective Consulting and we're a bunch of GPs.
Hello. We have a lot of questions. Once you've finished your training, what do I do next? Do I become a salary? Do I become a partner? Do I just become a locum? And we thought we'd just put it on video. Almost the types of conversations we have with these trainees, but also bring in our experience and when we finished training of how we found being a locum or being a partner or being a salaried GP, and share our experiences with you guys. So, Atif, so you were a partner, and now you're a locum.
Correct.
So, just tell us a little bit about, when you were a partner, what were the pros and cons of that? And then now that you're a locum GP as well, how are you finding the change, the transition from being a salary to a locum? Okay. Sorry, a partner to a locum.
So I pretty much went into general practice right from the outset.
Yeah.
So I finished my vocational training, applied for a job, a partnership in Walsall at the time.
Sure.
And for me, I was desperate about just getting a job and just working there.
Yeah, fair play.
I had no idea about locuming.
Yeah.
There was a partnership going, I applied, my friend from university joined me.
Yeah.
And then we basically ran the show, and I was partner there for almost about 16 years.
Okay.
And we were there right from the beginning when QOF came in, when appraisal started. So we'd seen quite a few changes over the last sort of decade or so.
Yeah.
And in terms of running the show, I personally found it challenging being a physician, but also being an employer. Understanding things like people's rights during sick pay, or if people don't turn up to work for whatever reason, how to run the business, how to run the show.
Sure.
When the government introduces new changes in terms of new services which need to be brought in, how much they cost, how much the practice makes as a business. I've found that quite difficult trying to get my head around that whilst trying to do my day job of looking after patients.
So what you find it difficult, it almost sounds like you were trying to be more of a businessman than a clinician in that situation.
To an extent, my partner's very much more business orientated.
But
when it came to CQC coming in, there was just so much that we're having to adhere to and we're responsible for. I personally think for me, I wasn't getting the satisfaction of running clinics. And the other thing, and this is very personal. It's very different for different people, but for me, I just wanted to just go out and try different things.
Fair enough.
I wanted to check out other practices, see how other practices work in different areas, and also branch out to do things like this. Make time for effective consulting. Make time for teaching, and just see what else is out there. Most importantly, doing things to prevent myself getting burnt out.
Fair enough.
So for me, I decided to leave partnership, the traditional partnership, and just start locuming, going out further afield, meeting new people, seeing a variety of completely different patients in different health centres, and that's what's keeping things quite
fresh.
Exciting for me. Absolutely.
So it sounds like being a locum gives you the flexibility to have almost a little bit more of a life, but also can be sort of getting in touch with your more clinical aspects of your day-to-day practice, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, for me personally, I think it's definitely making me keep myself on my toes, keep up to date, and just keeping things fresh, as you say. Now that safety netting becomes incredibly important because you're not seeing the same patients and following them up as you would normally. You have to be, I guess, extra vigilant about that. But it also promotes discussion amongst your colleagues when you go into another practice. Just having that communication because you are concerned, and just handing things over. So for me, I think for the time being, it was the right decision. I
mean, I can see where you're coming from being low, because when I finished with my qualified, my BTS, got my CCT in 2015. I was a salaried GP at my training practice, and I've told quite a lot of people who've asked me this same sort of question, should I become a salaried? And there's lots of pros and cons about being a salaried. You know, one of the pros that you sort of explained just now was when you're a locum, you don't get to follow up your patients. You don't. It's very difficult to build up that sort of relationship with a patient, which is kind of what kind of why you go into general practice, isn't it? Really, you're not just your patients; they're almost your additional family in a way, because you almost claiming ownership of these patients. And when going back to my original point, when we say, when people ask me, should I become a salaried in my training practice? From a logistical perspective, it's great because you've been working there for ages. It's not really much of a transition from going from a trainee to a salaried in that, because everything's all there. And you feel supported in the fact that the people who trained you and been supporting you for the last, year, 6 months or so, are there with you. And you're always there to ask questions, but at the same time, and I remember Anu saying something about this to me, because I initially didn't enjoy my salary job, to be honest, partly because of the distance. It was quite far away from home and things, but Anu said to me, the problem is that working in your training practice, it's almost the relationship you developed with as an employee there is that you're a trainee and you'll be forever looked at by all the members of the staff there as a trainee, and not a member of staff, not a fully qualified general practitioner. And that was what I found a bit just a bit difficult when I was working initially as a salaried, which is when I became a locum, to sort of find, like you said, to discover where I wanted to work.
You wanted to grow in your own boots.
Yeah, exactly. And also, again, it gave me the flexibility to start working with, working and setting up effective consulting as well to help you guys, obviously, like we're doing now. But I mean, Anu, you're a partner. You've been a partner for how long now? I should know this, she's my sister, but
I have been a partner for it's 4 years, almost 5 years actually.
5 years. Okay.
So yeah, it's been quite a long time.
Yeah.
Like Atif and like you, I finished my VTS. And I got a 6 months locum post at my training surgery, which I really enjoyed, because I think when you first qualified, there are a lot of things you're still uncertain about, and having the security of being in your training practice is really good, because you know that you are qualified, but there's always somebody that you can definitely come back and ask questions for. I wanted to move from where I was a bit closer to home. And so I started doing locums. I found a surgery that I was really happy with. I knew in my head what kind of surgery I was looking for. So in my training, I'd been in a large practice and also a small practice. And I decided that I wanted to be in a smaller practice, so you get to know your patients a lot more personally. I like the fact that you can go out, recognise your patients at reception, have a chat with them, which can be quite difficult when you're in a larger surgery.
I mean, what's your patient practice size?
So my current patient size is just over 5,000.
Okay.
And there's 3 partners there.
Right.
So I did know clearly in my head what kind of surgery that I was looking for. So when I found the surgery I wanted to be at, I did get a salaried post just to try out and see how things were.
Yeah.
And I found that I really liked it there. I think some of the things, Atif, that you didn't like, I do like. So the business side of things, how the practice makes income, evaluating new services, is it going to be profitable? I like that aspect of things. There are lots of other things like CQC, which I don't think anybody does like.
No offence to CQC, by the way.
But
doing a sterling job.
But there are lots of other stressful aspects. But I think I find them as minor compared to the potential changes that I feel I can make in the surgery as a partner. So if there is something I'm not happy with, I know that I can just go in and make the change, and it can be done very easily, obviously in collaboration and discussion with my partners, but it is something that's easy to do.
I guess it's probably a lot easier in your practice, being only sort of 3 partners, to have those sorts of discussions. I mean, you all get on with each other anyway, so it does help.
I think the other thing is it doesn't matter if you want to become a partner. The most important thing is that before you commit to anything, you know you get along with the other partners in the surgery. So if that's 6 partners, 2 partners, 1 partner, two partners, like in my surgery, the most important thing is, I think you need to make sure that your partners are like-minded, and that you have a good relationship with them. A lot of people say that a partnership is like a marriage, and in some ways they are right, because it is like a family. So you spend a lot of time at home, you spend probably more time at work, so you need to make sure you get on with the people that you're working with. And I think that fact is also important for any job. So the salaried post, again, it's a similar kind of thing. You need to make sure that you're happy with the people you're working with. So I think it really depends on what you enjoy doing. As with you, as I said, Atif, there's things that you don't like, I like doing, and equally there's things I don't like which you like doing, and it's just finding a job that is good for you.
Do something that reflects your personality. And things are forever evolving, forever changing. So just because you're somewhere now, who knows where you're going to be in 5-10 years. When you said something about partnerships, that the trust element is so incredibly important. And this comes down to whether it's finance, whether it's carrying the workload, and really watching your back for one another. It's quite an intimate place to be in, and as you said, you spend more time at work probably than anywhere else. And when it comes to developing the business, you all have to be. You may not agree with each other 100% of the time, but at the end of the day, on the ship, you all need to be sailing in sort of the same sort of direction, and have the ability to speak up or to have those disagreements and be able to discuss them in a civil manner. But the trust element is really, really huge.
Yeah.
I mean, the organisation where I work with, there's a lot of practices that have just merged into one big sort of unit, as it were. And I find, I guess, in an organisation such as that, it's very well organised, even though each practice seems to be maintaining their autonomy so far. As an organisation, a lot of organisational aspects of general practice is taking care of a central hub, essentially. So, for example, things such as occupational health, you actually have an occupational health group of people who will actually organise things such as that for you. All your pay is all sorted out from a central location as well. So, for anyone who would think about becoming a partner in something like that, yes, it's a bigger organisation in terms of there's more people that you may not get on with. Like you say, like a partnership is like a marriage almost, isn't it? And you're married to, as opposed to 3 people, you're married to sort of 10 or 15 partners. You know what I mean, though, in terms of there's 10 or 15 people you need to get on with, and running an idea has to go through almost like a board of directors as opposed to, a group of your colleagues, which is a disadvantage. But at the same time, you have the advantage of a big organisation, and that you've got the organisational backing of any sort of thing that has to get pushed through in a way. And I work as a salaried there, and I've found that yes, a lot of organisational changes can be more easily met in a bigger sort of organisation as opposed to as a small GP practice. But at the same time, the way it seems to work for me is that you are still maintaining your autonomy as a practice, and that's what I find quite good. I mean, there may be lots of other practices nationally that are going to attempt to do things like that, and that'd be great, because if that's something that you will find interest in getting, if you want to potentially become a partner in an organisation such as a large organisation such as that, that's something worth looking at if you like that sort of aspect of things. How would you think?
And I think you're right. It depends on your drive and your hunger and your appetite, and what's comfortable for you. At the end of the day, your main role is seeing as a clinician. But the role just diversifies, and if you want to get into politics, you want to get into finance, all of those things, depending on the size and the structure of the organisation, lend themselves to very specific roles. Murali, I wanted to ask you something.
Go on.
So you started locuming, and a majority of our colleagues, as soon as they qualify, they then start locuming, finding their feet, checking out different practices, and that's completely normal. And then you then decided to accept and settle down for this salaried position.
For a salary.
So what things went through your mind in terms of deciding, is this right for me or not?
So I was lucky enough to get a fairly long-term locum position at my practice, paying a decent rate. So the way I was getting paid, and we might touch on this maybe in another video, but the way I was getting paid per session. as opposed to an hourly rate. And during that session, I would do, I'd see about 15 patients, or I'd do 15 telephone triages, maximum 1 or 2 home visits, and an hour's worth of admin. And I quite enjoy that. It's like doing a salary job, but having the flexibility of being a locum, really. So I was quite lucky in that situation. And then you fall in, I don't want to say you fall into that trap, but I got to know my patients very well. I've become very comfortable at the practice. I know how it works, to the point where I thought, well, hang on, why don't I just become a salaried? So I talked to the partners. The partners have been persuading me for the last 2 years to try and become a salaried doctor there. And from a tax perspective, which is another thing which we'll touch on, and I think we've got an event coming soon talking about finances as a doctor anyway. So stay tuned for that one. A little bit of a plug there. But from a tax perspective, that shook me up a little bit, because I'm saving all this money over the year, but now all I've got to do is pay this massive lump sum as tax, which kind of it makes it feel like I'm not very in control of my finances. I feel like I have to save all this money in order to pay the tax, but then you've got to think about saving for the next year, for when you do the locums for your next year, and so on and so on. So I guess being a salaried, whatever you get paid at the end of the month is whatever you get paid. And financially, I wasn't actually that much worse off. Yes, I am a little bit worse off, maybe by £100, £200. But again, all depends upon how you negotiate. Do you want to negotiate a good rate, and then you negotiate it with indemnity is another thing that's indemnity, which is another thing you need to try and negotiate. Will your practice pay your indemnity? I mean, a lot of trainees ask me, that we all, we're not, as doctors, not very finance savvy. We're not very open about the pay, but at the end of the day, it's on the internet for people. It's public knowledge now, isn't it? All our doctors pay, and people always ask me, what if I'm negotiating? What sort of rate should I go for? And I'm not on average. Most people tend to negotiate between 9 and 9.5 per session per year. Would you say, or do you think that's too much?
No, I think
as a partner anyway. If someone was asking for that.
I think usually it's between 8.5 to probably about 10,000 a session, depending on the surgery, your location, the type of patients you've got, how busy your surgery is going to be. So it is really important, as you said, to test out the waters before committing anywhere, because you don't want to commit somewhere and then decide you this is not the right thing for you.
I mean, what I did was I had a 6-month contract at my initial training practice as a salaried, which was great, like you said, to feel the waters, to know if it is a right fit for you, to know if even salaried work is the right fit for you, isn't it?
It's like your
probational period, isn't it? But
I think the other thing is with salaried, so you've got, as you said, you've got the MDU to negotiate. In terms of MDU, a lot of that fees is going to be reduced now in the coming years, that we don't have to contribute so much to that. So it's all about negotiating, I suppose, the rate of pay. It's also home visits, how many you're going to be potentially doing, and you'll only get a feel of that from being in the surgery and maybe locuming or testing out things in the surgery. You mentioned about tax and the account side of things, and being a locum, having to put money aside extra for tax from your income. I suppose the other thing, looking at things like a salaried post, are that mortgages are much easier for you to get if you've got a salaried post. So that's another positive thing. One of the difficulties that I did have when I became a partner is because I became a self-employed person, that I needed to have 2 years worth of my accounts before applying for a mortgage, which made it a little bit difficult. So there are other positives about being a salaried.
It's job security. Job security. You've got your in case you're off sick, study leave. There's a lot of protection when it comes to your leave and your sort of rights as an employee. Obviously, being self-employed and I've been in this position, you're off sick, you don't get paid. And there is that sense of, I can't afford to get ill, I can't afford to have an accident, I can't afford not to come to work. Particularly in smaller practices, when you're trying to organise going on holiday, you can go and book your holiday as long as there's someone covering you. If that person fails to turn up to work, you're responsible. Now, in a small organisation, it becomes quite difficult. what you mentioned about large organisations, we've got lots of partners. The cross cover's a lot easier to organise, so you can arrange between yourselves. I'm going to go off for 4 or 6 weeks in the year amongst the partners, and that's easily arrangeable. In a smaller setup, it does become more difficult. It's horses for courses.
Yeah, I guess so.
I think the other thing that when people think about partnerships are about parity. So I know that's something that I was thinking about when I was joining my current partnership. I have to say I was very lucky at the time when I got my partnership that there was nothing to do with parity, and I just got equal division of any profits from year one. But there are some...
For people who are not...
So parity, it means when you start, you will get less proportion of the profits, and that will increase as years go on. So usually parity is done over 1 to 3 years, and you start off by getting less, and the more time you're there at the surgery, it will gradually increase to the same as the other partners in your surgery. So in my surgery, when I became a partner, that wasn't the case. I just got equal division of any profits at the end of the year without me having to get more experience and the percentage going up. But that is something that you need to be aware of when you are joining a partnership. And to be honest, with the probably shortage of partners and probably salaried posts, locums are very attractive at the moment, that parity may be something you can negotiate if that is a partnership is where you're going down, and that can be something that could probably more easily be negotiated at this time.
Let me throw something else into the mix. So you negotiate your entering the partnership. There's a fairly common scenario of building ownership. Now this is where it gets more interesting. So where the building's owned by someone else and no one knows who owns it, whether it's the local health authority or some other private equity firm or whatever. But for GPs who own their own building, when you go into partnership, what happens with that? So
that is something that, again, you can... That's I suppose, a more complicated discussion. It depends on who owns the property and if that is up for grabs when you join the partnership. So if, say, you are replacing another partner, it may be that if they have got a proportion of the property, that could be something you negotiate. But to be honest, once people have ownership of a building like that, it'll be very difficult for them to let go of that, because it is a constant income. So it's another bonus really on top if you can get ownership of the building, or there is a future potential to get ownership of the building. That is another positive. But again, that just really depends on if that's something you want to do. In my case, it wasn't, purely because I suppose it commits you even more. And I suppose at the time that I was becoming a partner, I wanted to have the option of, if I did need to go for whatever reason, that I could have that without it being even more sticky.
So you just got to be quite vigilant when you're coming into buying or purchasing or getting any share in the building, to really look at the nitty-gritty and find out what the service charges are, what the local rates are, who pays for cleaning services, and whether you get tied into those sort of lengthy contracts, which could be quite expensive. So you really need to really look at the finances with fine tooth.
Yeah. I mean, we talked a lot about being salaried partner, being a locum as well. I mean, you also forget that as doctors, we're quite skilled generally. You know, we learn skills on how to problem solve. We learn skills on how to talk and communicate with people. So if you really want to think outside the box, when you finish your training, do you think that, you know, a lot of people are starting to think of careers outside of medicine, outside of general practice? You know, I mean, if you, let's say you want to still go outside of general practice but maybe still stick within the NHS and medicine, there's obviously CCG roles that you can think about doing. There's roles with other companies, and I know there's a lot of talk about private healthcare companies and online access for so online GPs. But at the end of the day, if you find that job fits in terms of your lifestyle, in terms of your flexibility, certain companies allow you to work from home using a laptop. If you think that's something worthwhile, and obviously these sort of places are where you might want to consider working.
Which in fact I've just done.
Okay.
I've just signed a contract with one of these online companies. So I'm going to be doing web-based consults.
Okay.
In a few weeks' time.
So you can let us know how that's.
I'll let you know how that's
going. So, you know, that's obviously something else you can consider doing rather than the traditional consultation, working in a practice type thing as well. I mean, going back to that, you know, a lot of people have asked me, a lot of trainers have asked me, you know, when I became a locum, and I always used to go on about hashtag living la vida locum to everyone. And don't get me wrong, I do miss being a locum. I do miss the flexibility of it. But a lot of people are afraid to dip their toes into the locum pool simply because they just don't know what sort of jobs are out there, how you go about getting jobs. There's lots of different ways to get a job as a locum, isn't it? Yeah. You know, that I've been a locum recently. You've just started being a locum. You were a locum a few years ago, although you still occasionally do locums just to sometimes pay the bills. But
I was doing locum to get extra cash. So I think it can be quite daunting to start with, but then when you get into the swing of the things, you know what you should be doing.
I mean, about getting jobs. Look, there's loads of locum agencies left, right, and centre. They'll contact you, word of mouth. Talk to your friends who are already working for people. There's some online platforms that will help you get locum work. And locally, and I've done this. I'm sure you guys have done it. There's loads of practices. You get your CV. You walk in. Introduce yourself to the manager. Here's my CV. If you want any locum work.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, what's the worst that's going to happen? They're going to say, "Sorry, we don't have any locums," and they'll tell you to jog on, which is fine. You've got to, once you learn about the negatives, positives will just come to you. I think that's how, and that's how my parents support is that. And once you've learned the negatives and you've dealt with the negatives, I'm sure you will find a job out there. I mean, I used to get emails off you, I get emails off friends, or practice managers, and you just send a blanket email out saying, "Hi, my name's Dr. Muniyappa. I've just qualified as a GP, and I'm looking for work. I'm quite happy to work locums. I live locally, and it'd be great just to get to know you guys and do locums." And literally, it's an entry point.
I really don't think there's any problem in getting a locum. There's so many out there. They're so short on doctors. You'll get them anywhere. So if it is that you're worried about getting jobs as a locum, I wouldn't, because there's loads out there. It's just finding the good ones. Yeah,
I mean, my advice would be to sign up to some of these online locum agencies. Also to sign up to various other locum agencies that you can find. We don't know. We can't really tell you about any of the specifics, but it is literally as simple as doing a Google search for GP locum agencies UK, and you'll easily sign up. These people want you to sign up. They're always looking for clients, essentially, for them to get work for. In terms of how locum agencies work, obviously that you'll pay. You got to think about they've got you as a client. What are they getting out of it? And ultimately, people don't quite realise. But sometimes how locum agencies work is they will negotiate a slightly higher rate. They'll take a small percentage out of that rate, and the rate that's usually advertised is after they've taken the percentage out of it. So yes, there are pros and cons, because sometimes you might be able to get a higher rate if you go outside the locum agency, but obviously if you're just starting out and you need the convenience of someone who will do the negotiations for you, who will look after you in terms of the interacting with the employer, and you just want literally a package where you tell someone, I want to work in this area, I want to get paid this much, can you sort me out with some jobs? Then a locum agency might be the way forward for you. If you want to get a bit more money out of it, you have to put the legwork in at the end of the day.
You'll also find, a colleague of mine has done this, but you'll find other practices doing this. Practices will group together and set up WhatsApp groups. So you can join these WhatsApp groups in your locality, and they're fairly common. Certainly in Birmingham, there's a couple of groups of more than 200 practices or so, and they'll simply advertise, anyone, this is the locum I need. Can someone come and cover the shift?
You can therefore negotiate a slightly higher rate going straight to the practices, because that percentage that the practices may need to pay to a locum agency is no longer there.
Yeah. Okay, well...
So, coming to the finance bit, should we just let people know when are we doing our finance?
So it's going to be on June the 30th, which is a Saturday. We're going to be doing it at the Wesleyan Building in Birmingham.
Perfect.
You can find information about the agenda, which looks really, really good. I'm maybe a bit biased, but it does. But you can find information about the agenda on our webpage, where you can also register to come to the course. It will also be live streamed. However,
go on.
However, there are obviously some aspects of the talks which will only be available for people who attend on the day. So which means that you won't get all the advantages.
And don't forget to follow us on our social media channels. We are on Instagram at EffectiveCons, and follow us on Facebook. Don't forget to like our page, www.facebook.com/EffectiveCons. And our website is effectiveconsulting.net. All our live streaming dates and live streaming links we put on effectiveconsulting.net/live, but it's quite easy to navigate our webpage when you have a look at it. If you've got any thoughts about what you'd like us to discuss, in this informal way, don't forget to put a comment down below. Also, give us a thumbs up and tell all your friends about it, because we need to hit 1,000 subscribers to make this worthwhile. So tell all your friends about us, subscribe to our channel. We're trying to produce as much content for you guys as possible, because we do this in our spare time. I haven't got change from work, to be honest. Neither of you have it, but I haven't got change from work. I just came home and set all this up for these guys. But we like all your feedback from all the other videos as well, from all our consultation videos, and I'm glad you like them as well. But yeah, like us on Facebook, check us out on Instagram. We're on Twitter as well. I'll pop the links down below if you forget. And any sort of final thoughts from you guys?
We just want to hear from you. And keep watching.
Perfect. Well, take care, guys. Bye-bye.
Bye.
That went all right, didn't it?